Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Director Swami Vivekananda Culture Center, Ms. Paula Martini, Ms. Sureka Singh, Ms. Shivani Chinnapan, Ms. Caroline Smart, Dr. Sarala Ramklas, Ms. Rebecca Vezi Dadla, Ms. Inkami Mispa Dalini, Ms. Nzobile Songoni, Ms. Tabiseli Buthelezi, Ms. Shruti Harinarayan, Mr. Piyush Khandewal, distinguished online guests, on behalf of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to today's program, Women's Day of South Africa, the theme being My Story of Being Empowered. In South Africa, the 9th of August, Women's Day, and the month of August is National Women's Month. This is an opportunity to celebrate women's achievements and most important roles that women of all races and religions that have played and continue to play in South African society today. On the 9th of August 1956, more than 20,000 women from all walks of life united in a mass demonstration to the Union Buildings in Pretoria. They protested against the unjust laws enforced on women in South Africa in remembrance of what South African women achieved on that day. 9th of August has been declared as National Women's Day and is a public holiday in South Africa. Women's Month is an opportunity to celebrate and reflect on women's achievements as well as the problems they have faced in the struggle to be free and the important role they continue to play in society, apart from their traditional roles as mothers, wives, and caregivers. Women are making great progress in the business, political, academic, economic careers, with more and more women reaching top positions. Wishing you all a very happy Women's Day. Our first guest speaker is Ms. Inkami Mispi Dalini. Ms. Inkami Mispa Dalini is 44 years old, an entrepreneur and marketer with warm after metric due to lack of financial support had to find herself a job. With all the experience she earned, she gained the entrepreneurship inspiration from there. She developed herself from past working experiences that she shared. She involved herself in the FMCG sector for 16 years. 6 years into sales and marketing, she continued. Upon gaining much experience in the private sector, she then decided to start an organization by the name of Idwala Business Association. She is now currently a sales and marketing consultant at the Wakefield Estate Agent. I'd like to invite Ms. Inkami Mispa Dalini.
Hi there, I'm Ngami Dlamini from Kwamashu Inc. area. I'm the founder and the chairperson of IBA organization, which deals with coaching and mentorship of small businesses. I am also a CEO of Kusile Marketing Agency. Ngami Dlamini acquired her vast experience in the corporate world of 16 years. I achieved my diploma academically. I achieved my diploma back then in retailing in 1996. In year 2012, I achieved my NQF 6 certificate in purchasing and supply management. Currently, I'm studying towards my national diploma in entrepreneurship, measuring with marketing. I am a third year undergrad student there at UNISA. I'm going to share a bit about my story of being empowered. My story of being empowered is very simple. I was empowered through working experience, like how I said that I shared 16 years vast experience in the corporate world. I was one of the lucky ones who happened to get empowered also in the company when the BBE came to life. I was one of them who also benefited. Hence, I was given also an opportunity to run the cleaning services of the company. I then became an employer myself with the employees, with 20 employees, which was 17 employees and three supervisors for three sites. From then, I didn't look back. I just pushed up until where I am. I am currently empowering other women too. So I just want to say, as it's the Women's Month, let's just uplift one another. Let's love one another. Let's try and make sure that we become the best influence in our nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring story. Our next guest speaker is Miss Paula Martini, creator We Move Active, to share her experience. Paula Martini is 45 years old, single mother of two boys, 16 and 18 years of age. She also owns her very own business in the field of travel management. Prior to running her successful travel business for the past 12 years, Paula always believed there was a bigger purpose to life. Raised Catholic by Portuguese tradition, however never resonating with her, she embarked on many explorations of spirituality, knowing there was a purpose to life, including the belief the church system, also known to many, was more than a structural system rather than a system that embraced the light within each person and their contribution towards the higher self. Finding the practice of yoga and learning the tool of meditation, Paula has been able to connect with her true self and develop her understanding of divinity, true being, and the amazing universe we live in.
Good evening, namaste, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today on the empowerment of women and my story on empowerment. And I would like to share with you today a little bit about my journey over the last 12 years and the story that has led me up to where I am today. And it all started in 2008 when I made the decision to leave my marital home and everything that I had created over 8 years together with my boys to start a brand new life and create a brand new home for myself and my two boys that would be filled with love and happiness. And in order for me to do that, I needed to stand on my own 2 feet. And that started with having been a housewife for 7 years and having been in travel before that and had been a housewife before. Well, I was a travel agent before and then was a housewife for 7 years. And when I made that decision to leave, I had been cut off with all financial means and had created a home or had taken on a space that didn't have much, so I needed to start from the bottom up. So it all began in 2009 when I began working at a laundry, washing hospital linen, which wasn't one of my finest hours, but it was an experience. And I did that for 6 months. And during that time, I was given the opportunity to purchase a travel agency, an existing travel agency, which I did, together with 2 other partners, and start all over again. Having been out of travel for 7 years, things were incredibly different to how they were when I had left travel 7 years prior to that. And I had to learn everything again. And it was so exciting. It was daunting, it was scary. I was working long hours, but it was fun and it was my own, and working with 2 other partners, which was a really, really good learning curve for me. And over a couple of years, I managed to buy both of them out and have just be the sole owner of the business, I took up the challenge of doing a law degree and worked halfway through that. It was more a need for me to prove to myself that I was able to study and able to work towards the initials behind your name, which we all feel is so necessary, especially for entrepreneurs, you know, people who have had businesses that don't have any formal studying or training. Always feel the need or always have to compare themselves against people who have got some kind of formal education in terms of a degree or of sorts. So I did that for 2.5 years, which I did successfully. And after that, I decided I wanted to move to Ballito and be closer to my parents to help me with the children, my two beautiful boys who are now 17 and 19. And I, in the process of wanting to do that, I decided that the law degree was no longer a necessity, but something that I had felt that I needed to do, and had become more of a job than doing it for the love and passion of law. So I decided, which was really, really hard for me to do, to pack it in, and which was a good decision because it gave me the ability to focus more on my business, which I did. And I, after 2.5 years, was able to move to Ballito. And in moving to Ballito, I was able to find myself and find the purpose of my business and focus on just doing bigger and better within the industry and taking on challenges and changes that were needed within the industry. I discovered yoga, which was an absolute blessing and really transformed my life. And during my time on my yoga mat, I discovered a whole new business, We Move Active. So I now actually have two businesses, which is now called Co-Travel, formerly Travel Dynamics. I've changed its name over lockdown to give it a whole new fresh start, which is Corporate Travel. And then We Move Active, which is an online platform assisting those within the conscious and wellness industry to connect, deliver services and connect to travelers, people who are wanting to move from A to B in a whole different new way. So that is the bulk of my business. But the most important lessons that I'd like to share with every woman out there is that your ability as a woman to achieve what you need to achieve is something that is incredibly unique to women. And it is something that comes with our genetic makeup, DNA, if you want to say, in terms of nature and nurture and the ability to have life within your core and when you put that into your business and into your work, the creativity and ability for you to succeed and achieve what you want to achieve is just amazing and something that I wish that and would like to going forward share with many women out there. And people often tell me how you did it, tell me how you do it. And it's so very hard because it's not from a book, it's not from a lesson, it's not from anything other than life experience and the ability to have tenacity and to have grit and to have staying power and to know that no matter what, you make a choice every single day to stand up, show up, and to create what your heart desires, because that is what we're able to do, and that is what we are able to achieve as women. And together we are able to just come from a place of love and be able to just keep going, because it's in our nature. And if natural in women, I think. And it's what keeps me going every day, despite all the challenges, and I've had many, and especially now in today's times, and having to do a presentation like this that's not on a stage in front of so many people, but do it via a video virtually, is a whole new experience. But I'm one of the fortunate few that have been able to receive the government grant for the tourism industry. I've watched many of my colleagues have to close down their businesses that they've had for many years, large companies that have had to close down. And I'm happy to say that through all of this, Code Travel and We Move Active is still going strong. We have 3 employees who are still receiving their pay, and through the grace of love and light and all that is amazing in this world, we're going to be coming out of this stronger and bigger and better. And I'm so excited for the challenges that are going to be given to us moving forward, because I know that when all of this is over, we are going to be ready, and we're going to be creating so much more and such beautiful things to connect people through consciousness and through wellness and through travel and through business travel, even through new ways and exciting ways. And yes, so much excitement to come. So if I can leave you with a few words, is always work with grace, work with ethics, work with honor, work from a place pure of heart and from a place of truth. And when you have all of those things, and you have a little bit of spunk and a bit of tenacity and a bit of fun with it, our ability to create and achieve as women in today's times is a force to be reckoned with, and one that I am so excited to be sharing and with my team, because my biggest philosophy in business is not having people work for you, but having people that work with you. And that is the team that I have created today. Is I don't have employees, I have team members. We're all team members, because our ability to work together is our ability to achieve together. And that is something that I hope to carry forward for many years to come, and create a legacy that I can hand over to my children, and my children will be proud to hand over to theirs, or not, or go their own way, whichever way it does. But I know that destiny has put me on this great path, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So yes, to all you women out there, go girls, go ladies, you've got this. We've got this. We've all got this. So keep going strong. And today is about you. And embrace it, love it, and live it with all the light and love to you all. Namaste.
Thank you, Ms. Paula Martini, for sharing your experience with us. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Sureka Singh, writer and dance teacher. A mother of 2 beautiful girls, she manages a non-profit organization called the Wentworth Foundation for the treatment of indigenous children born with facial deformities, and she manages medical dental center called the Durban North Smile Center. She is also a graphic designer and classical dance teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Sureka, and I would like to say thank you to the organizers of this event for giving me the opportunity to speak about my story of empowerment on this very special day. For me, I would say that my life is defined by the moments in which I turned inward, the moments in which I turned away from the past, even if the past was just a minute ago, if you understand what I mean. I think the most important lessons I have learned in my life through the various challenges and difficult times is that there is unlimited potential in the moment, and that each moment is an opportunity for transformation. And for me, my life has been about transformation, and it has been about that inward journey. I could tell you part of my life story, how I got married at a very young age to a man who did not treat me very well. I would say, who never wasted an opportunity to beat me with words. No, I was never going to be good enough. I could tell you that I made every effort to be the ideal wife and to look after the family that I got married into, and that I became everything to everyone. And I would say nothing to myself. I could tell you that I did this for many, many years. I prescribed to the roles that society had handed to me. I needed to be the good wife, the perfect wife. And in order to do that, I thought that I had to be subservient, to the point where I became invisible, even to myself. I could not have a voice. I did not have a voice, not even in my own head. And I did not have an identity. I guess you could say I had to be good at all costs. And I could tell you that I found myself violated because my sensitivity as a human being translated as gullibility. But then I would just be telling you the story of so many women who go through this. Now I can look back and I can regard this as inhumane, but back then it was a vicious cycle and I was in it, you know. I was married for 12 years, and after 12 years, I got separated, and I went through a very painful divorce, which spanned over a period of 4 years, and going through a separation and divorce was incredibly difficult, not only for me, but for my children and for my family as well. But I can honestly say that it forced me to look at myself. It forced me to look at my life. It forced me to turn inward. And I can honestly say that this inward journey has been liberating, not only for me, but for the people around me. If I look back, I think my journey began with a letter to myself. It was a defining moment. It was before I could get separated and divorced, before I found out that my ex-husband had been having many affairs. One day, after returning from a trip to Sri Satya Sai Baba's ashram in India, and having just finished reading a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, I was sitting quietly and meditating, and suddenly I experienced a shift. I knew at that point that things could never be the same again. I took out a piece of paper and I decided to write a letter to myself. And in that letter, I said, "Dear Sureka, You will not sacrifice your integrity any longer. Anyway, the separation was very painful. The divorce was very painful. It took me a long time to get back up again and find my footing. But of course, the journey had begun. It was a painful journey, but the choice was made. As I began to turn inward through self-reflection, through meditation, through prayer, I realized, and this was a light bulb moment, I realized that I could choose what I wanted to believe about myself. And I could choose what I wanted to believe of others. I could choose what I wanted in my life and who I wanted to be with in my life and who I wanted to associate myself with. This was a light bulb moment, surprisingly so simple. All I had to do was find that constant, quiet place within myself that didn't need any external validation. I didn't need anyone to tell me that I was good enough. I needed to find my own internal compass, so to speak, and taking my attention away from everything and everyone external to myself was the key for me. I began to build internal confidence and resilience. I realized that I had to tread the path of my own truth. At that point, it wasn't about anybody else. I think the greatest lesson for me was realizing that it was never about anybody else. That was a huge hurdle to cross. Yes, there were difficulties. Yes, the challenges were there. Yes, the abusiveness in the marriage was there. But now it was time to reclaim my power. And the only way I could do it was by turning inward, which meant looking at myself and not relying on anything external in order to formulate my beliefs and to direct my thoughts. I was fortunate, I must say, that there were many people who supported me during this journey. I was incredibly fortunate. I call them my angels who helped me along the way. Good people who genuinely loved and cared about me. So I have to acknowledge that. I guess from that point, I started making better choices for myself. I also knew that I had to make practical choices. Although I had an honors degree in Hindu studies, I proceeded to study further. I studied a degree in graphic design. I'm also an Indian classical dancer, and teaching dancing has been very empowering. Dancing always brings one to the moment, so this has been brilliant for me. It's like tapping into a great energy source. I also realized that to further empower myself and to be able to look after myself and my children comfortably, I needed to study further again. So I studied an MBA. I knew I had to empower myself with knowledge, and learning was, for me, part of growing. So that's what I did. Today, I can say that I have faced many fears and overcome many challenges, and I know that, this is an ongoing process. But I can say that the seed was planted when I made the choice to turn inward. So essentially, turning inward changed my life. It took the focus away from everyone and everything around me and returned my power to me. and I have certainly found my place in the world. Thank you very much once again to the organizers for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sureka Singh, for that inspiring story. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Shivani Chinnapan, a teacher and radio presenter, award-winning actress, a director, international performing artist, choreographer, radio and TV personality, specializing in edutainment.
தெற்கில் மலர்ந்தது செல்லம் சூழம் கற்கண்டு கண்ணி தமிழே என் தாயே தடைமணி பெரியோர்களே தாய்மார்களே என் அன்பு கலந்த வணக்கம் நமஸ்தே சனிப்புனானி அபங்கானி பாம். Thank you to Dr. Yogi Ji, the director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, the Arya Samaj Womens Forum, for inviting me to share my story of empowerment. When I was given this invitation, I really didn't know where to start. It's not very often that I have to stop in my tracks and consciously reflect on my journey of empowerment. So today, we discover what exactly makes Shivani Chinnapan and how has she reached empowerment, if at all. Shivani Chinnapan grew up in a cultural environment with parents who were actively involved in promoting, preserving, and propagating the Tamil culture in all three aspects: Muttamil, Iyal, Isai, and Nadagam in South Africa. Dr. K. Chinnapan and Mrs. K. Chinnapan raised Shivani with empowering tools. Tools which she carries through her life and tries to share with all those that come in her path. The tools of power of choice and responsibility taking. A truth teller is Shivani Chinnapan. She does not hold her words. Where there is injustice, lies, cheating, corruption. She was brought up in a cultural environment. However, cultural activities were not imposed upon her. It was only when she was 6 years old, when she visited India, Chennai, and witnessed Dr. Padma Subramaniam perform to Mahakavi Subramania Bharatiyar's Chinnan Chidikki, that she was convinced beyond reasonable doubt that this is the art form she would like to be a part of. Just at 6 years old, she came back to South Africa. Not immediately, but 4 years later, when she was 10 years old, she made a conscious decision to start her journey as a student of dance. Until then, Shivani Chinnapan had empowered herself through the encouragement and support of her parents with speech and drama and ballet. But at 10 years old, she decided that Bharatanatyam was the style of dance she was interested in. Could it be because of the elaborate makeup, or the brightly and intricately designed costume, or that echoing sound of the salami, the mighty bells? This child, under the guidance and mentorship of Guru Kumari Ambige, graduated in Bharatanatyam, had her Arangetram at 13 years old. That journey of empowerment started when Shivani Chinnapan understood as she was suffering from something we all don't like to speak about, an identity crisis. She was caught between the values of the cultural world and the freedoms of the Western culture. And there began the journey of creating internal balance. It is no easy journey. It is a challenging one. A one that sometimes doesn't allow you to leave your bed in the morning. It's a journey that sometimes has you crying yourself to sleep. But it is also a journey. It is also a journey of lessons. Because through bitter experiences, Savani Chinnapan has been blessed with spiritual beings on a human journey who share their love, wisdom, and guidance with us so selflessly. These individuals have made Savani Chinnapan. She is not an island unto herself. And she is where she is today because she had people who believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. At this point, it's important to thank those men and women who contributed constructively to the growth and have empowered Savani Chinnapan. It brings me to a woman who devotes her life to serving me. A woman who does not think of herself first, but puts my needs before hers. And if I'm a strong woman today, if I'm supposedly an empowered woman, it's because I've been empowered by an empowered woman. Mrs. K. Chinnapan. This woman has taught me lessons that no textbook and no university could ever teach me. She is a woman who has worked so hard in her life, has overcome challenges that no sane person would have survived. But this woman has also taught me about God, without whom my very existence will not be. My very existence will cease. To the empowered woman, Mrs. Chinnapan, thank you. Thank you is not a phrase that I share generously with you. But I want to say thank you for teaching me the values and virtues of a woman. Savani Chinnapan has overcome quite a few challenges in her life. In fact, her life is an endless challenge. But it is through those challenges that her strength shines. Savani Chinnapan is not afraid to take on any task. She's not afraid of hard work. And she has been empowered with the phrase that excuses do not produce results. Savani Chinnapan's story of empowerment hopes to teach young women that freedom and fear never went together, in the words of Subramania Bharati. And that you pass this way but once. And in the words of Shakespeare, we are all merely actors. Having played our role efficiently or otherwise, we all have to exit. And an individual that exited no more than 6 months ago, an individual who broke stereotypes and raised Savani Chinnapan as both a son and daughter, an Indian man who empowered an Indian woman without prejudice. Dr. K. Chinnapan, I salute you. Dr. K. Chinnapan has empowered Savani Chinnapan with everything that a woman could ever need in life, and has taught Savani Chinnapan how a man should lead in life. He also taught Savani not to depend on a man to lead her, but to carve her own path and to lead by example. Savani has never been afraid of confrontation, conflict. It's her nature. It's not because she's a fighter, but it's because she believes in something. And today she asks you to take away from her story. It's not about being a damsel in distress. The story is about a warrior queen. And to our queen sisters on this Women's Day, I wish you strength, courage, love, and prosperity. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity. வாய்ப்பு கிடைத்தால் மீண்டும் சந்திப்போம். அன்று வரை வணக்கம்.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shivani Chinnapan, for sharing your story with us. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Caroline Smart, actress, director, editor of Art Smart. Ms. Caroline Smart is a multinational award-winning and well-known Durban theatre personality who has been involved in the professional performing arts world for more than 47 years. She wears many hats. She's a trained actress, voice production coach, speech and drama, and a script writer. She is also the former television presenter, producer. Added to this, she freely donates a major amount of her time to her website, Art Smart, which is dedicated to promoting the arts in Durban. She's created the website to ensure that all art practitioners in KZN, whether professional or community-based, could be sure of their work being publicized and their events promoted. She was closely involved in the renovation and rejuvenation of Stable Theatre and also served on the DUT Drama Liaison Committee. She has mentored many organizations and performing arts who are now successful personalities in their very own right. She has worked extensively in radio drama, many years on Springbok Radio, now known as SAFM. In 2012, she received the eSequeni Living Legends Award for Arts and Culture. She is also a very proud recipient of 6 Lifetime Awards.
Hello, I'm Caroline Smart, actress, director, scriptwriter, reviewer, and host of a KZN Arts website. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. And here's to a happy Women's Day to all you wonderful females out there. I'm going to read from a speech I made when I proudly received last year's Womandla Award. What is a woman? For a start, we are built differently from our male counterparts. we also have the biological capacity to create a future generation. Whether we decide to have children or not, we have the mechanism, as it were, to do just that. I don't have children myself. When I say I don't have children, I have many special people from all ages and communities who I consider my children. They call me mum, mummy, mama, or mother, because I have guided, mentored, voice-trained, or supported them in their paths towards being a more successful person. So I ask again, what is a woman? I'd like to share with you When God Created Mothers, a piece I used to do with Springbok Radio colleagues in a candlelight theatre program. It's taken from Irma Bombeck's Mother's Day column in 1974. As you listen to it, look at the reference to mother and consider it on a wider scale, as if it is talking about women in general, their strengths and fortitudes. When God created mothers, he was in the 6th day of overtime when an angel appeared to him and said, "You're doing a lot of fiddling around on this one." And the Lord said, "Have you read the spec on this order? She has to be completely washable, but not plastic, have 180 movable parts, all replaceable, run on black coffee and leftovers, have a lap which disappears when she stands up, a kiss that can cure anything from a broken leg to a disappointed love affair, and 6 pairs of hands." The angel shook her head slowly. 6 pairs of hands? No way. "It's not the hands that are hassling me," said the Lord. "It's the 3 pairs of eyes that mothers have to have. 1 pair that sees through closed doors when she asks, 'What are you doing inside there?' when she already knows. Another pair at the back of her head that sees what she shouldn't, but what she has to know. And of course, 1 in front that can look at her loved ones and say, 'I understand and I love you,' without as much as uttering a word. I'm near to creating something so close to myself. Already I have one who heals herself when she is sick, can feed a family of 7 on 1 pound of hamburger patties, and get a 9-year-old to stand under a shower. You cannot imagine what this mother can do or endure." The angel asked, "Can it think?" The Lord said, "Not only think, but it can reason and compromise." Finally, the angel bent over and ran her finger across the cheek of the creation. "There's a leak," she pronounced. "I told you you were trying to put too much into this model." "That's not a leak," said the Lord. "It's a tear. It's for joy, sadness, disappointment, pain, loneliness, and pride." The angel looked at the Lord proudly. "You're a genius," she said. The Lord looked somber. "I didn't put it there." I think that beautiful piece, which I have edited slightly, sums up what makes a woman, whether it's in the home, in the workplace, in commerce, industry, government, or education. Among the challenges in my life has been the fact that I am acutely myopic. Anything further than about 4 feet away was a blur. For the first 18 years of my life, I wore glasses, and without them, I wouldn't have been allowed out of the house on my own, driving a car, and certainly not working on a stage in a theatre. I started wearing contact lenses at the age of 18. This was tremendous. Okay, I had to take them out at night, which put me back in the blurry state until I popped them back in the morning. Then, thank heavens for modern technology. 4 years ago, I was able to have my prescription contact lenses inserted into my eyes. A whole new life opened. I had absolute clarity of sight 24 hours a day. It was like a small miracle, and I feel so blessed by it. My other challenge is a back problem. I fell off a jungle gym when I was about 12 and damaged the bones above the coccyx. This creates a number of problems, meaning I can't lift anything heavy and things like that. However, I try to use my imagination and determination and find a way around it. If it's heavy and on the floor, then I get a stool and a chair. I sit on the stool and lift the object onto the chair. Then I get up and take it from the chair onto a higher space, and so on. My life is devoted to the arts, and I run a website blog called ArtSmart. It is now 20 years old and focuses on the arts in KZN in every category, from craft, dance and drama, to literature, film, music and visual arts. I was very proud to be honoured as an eThekwini Living Legend in 2012. And I remember that same night I looked out of the bedroom window at the sleeping city with its lights glittering, and I made a promise that I would support the arts for as long as I possibly could. I believe that as women we have incredible inner strength, and we have to trust in that. We should try to resolve problems calmly and reasonably, without insult, offence or aggression. I believe we are blessed with a strong capacity of guidance and leadership. To all women, I wish you a happy Women's Day.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline Smart, for those very inspirational words. Our next speaker, Nozibile Sungoni. Ms. Nozibile Sungoni is a motivator, mentor, a business coach, a brand activator, a customer service expert, and a business strategist.
We are all born with an identity, with a DNA that is specific to you and you alone. Well, my name is Nozi Sogoni, and I am a motivational speaker that speaks about the internal muscles that God has designed inside of you so that you can be the best you can be. I talk and discuss muscles of excellence, where if you are a person of excellence who wants to be the best in everything that they are doing, this could be a doctor, lawyer, street sweeper, being a clerk, but the moment you want to excel and do the best that you are given, this excellence will always produce quality work. Once you do this quality work, the world will notice you no matter what. And it's not about even the world noticing you, but people will ask, even if you're not there, where is that doctor? Where is that lawyer? Where is that teacher? Hence, this muscle of being excellent is one of the best things that one could have in this life, and we must aspire to be as excellent as we can in each and every situation that we put ourselves in. The quality work that we'll produce will speak for itself and will leave a trail behind us every time where we are going. Another muscle that I talk about is being relevant at the time that we're living in. We're living at a time that is very difficult now of COVID-19 globally, where we've seen ourselves retracting back to our homes. But how relevant are you within your homes? What are you building? What are you learning? What are you doing to raise up your internal you as a person? Another muscle that I talk about is being authentic. How best do you become your best authentic self? A lot of things will pile up, work, the environment, the societal places that we live in as well. And it can make us sort of like retreat away from being our best authentic self at all the times. Try by all means to raise this muscle of being authentic and being the best you that you can be. Another muscle that I talk about is being limitless and having an outlook of life that says, I will make it, I will go there, but visualize this dream, visualize where you want to be and know exactly where you're ending and where your point of where your life is. So I always say, frame your world by your dreams, by your wants, by the things that come from you. No one will tell you what your dream was. Only you can ascertain what a dream that you want and what you hold. So frame that dream, make it clear, make it limitless. Let it have no ending. And I'm telling you, people might laugh at it right now or when you share to them, but one day, the more you see clearly this vision, it will surely come to pass. I also talk about a muscle, especially when it comes to women, of being significant. It is so important that as women, we know who we are. We know what our standpoint is in life. We know that we are worthy to have a voice in our home, in our society, in our courts, in our workplaces as well. Know that you are significant as a person. You are destined for greatness. There's only one of you, woman. And if you don't stand up for your purpose and let that purpose take out the power that is within you to influence within your circle of influence, then you won't be doing the world any justice if you don't do that. I know as women, it is easier for us to quickly take the routine of making sure that the house is good, making sure that our kids are fed, making sure that everything around us is nurtured, it's doing well. But sometimes we forget that there's a purpose inside of you that God has destined for your own dreams to come to pass as well. So don't forget that you are significant. Don't forget that you are worthy. Don't forget that you are beautiful inside out, and the strength that you carry, someone else needs it as well. Well, within my business as Nozibele Solution, I also do mentoring and coaching, where I will mentor specifically small businesses on their coaching of their businesses, or anything that they have questions on how to establish their business, or how to start their business, or how to develop their business to the next level. I also do specifically a 3 month course where I do a self-mastery, where now you are the boss of this business. You have to be okay as well to master this business. The self-mastery course, anyone can do it, whether you want to speak better, whether you want to find what is it that you're destined for. It's very much up to you taking out what you have inside of you and how to master some of the things that we find that we can't master on our own. And I just help you navigate that journey within your life in finding who you are inside of you. Well, another thing that I do within my company is I train. As I said, I train mostly on customer service, and I really believe that is one of the things that big business, small businesses, we all need customers, especially at this time. How then do I get those customers? Do I transition to digital platforms so that I can be in touch more with my customers? Do I phone? There's a lot that now post-COVID that one must think of. How do I get those customers, and how do I excel more in my customer service and my culture of customer service within my business as well? I've worked a lot with the eThekwini municipality, especially the unit called ABM, where I have entrepreneurs that come in. We train them for a 4-day period. And since my company was launched 2 years ago, we've trained over 450 entrepreneurs to date. Well, it's exciting times that we live in. And I think it is important that people get motivated a lot, because we are in our homes, we are by ourselves sometimes, and you might find that you're lonely. But I'm here to tell you that you can recover, you can make it, you can find that vision of your life and where you are as an individual and as a person. Don't give up the fight. Don't be in a state of being fearful as well. Know that you're an overachiever, you're an overcomer as well, and the best is yet to come. So don't give up in developing yourself. Don't give up in finding out who you are as a person. Don't forget that you're significant, and there's a lot that the world still needs out of you. Today, I'm here to tell you in this Women's Day, specifically women, stand up for your voice. I know there's a lot of violence that has taken place as well in our homes. Stand up, speak out about violence. Try to nag someone, a family member, or someone, it was even a stranger, to say, hey, I'm not in a place of peace within my home. Assist me, help me in a way. Don't be in that situation much longer than needed as well. Be the best you that you can be. I hope you can connect with me as well in my social platforms. As I said, my name is Noze Sogoni. I'm available on Instagram, on Facebook, and my email address is nozibele@nozibelesolutions.co.za. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nazomi Songoni, with your wonderful work. Our next guest speaker is Dr. Sarala Ramkla, Senior Lecturer at the UKZN and Chairperson of the Arya Samaj Womens Forum in South Africa. Dr. Sarala Ramkla graduated as a physiotherapist almost 27 years ago from the University of Durban, Westville. She practiced as a healthcare professional in the public and private sector before joining the University of KwaZulu-Natal as a university academic and researcher. Whilst at UKZN, she obtained a master's and doctoral degree in physiotherapy education. Dr. Ramkla is a senior lecturer in the School of Clinical Medicine. Here she is responsible for teaching and coordinating the research activities of postgraduate medical students. In addition, she has served as an academic leader of teaching and learning in the school for the past 6 years. Dr. Ramkla is particularly interested in the care of vulnerable populations and has published research undertaken in primary healthcare and healthcare professions education in local and international journals. She has graduated 14 master's students and is currently supervising 8 masters and 4 doctoral students. Dr. Ramkla serves on the Executive Committee of the Arya Samaj South Africa and is the chairperson of the Arya Samaj Womens Forum.
Namaste. Thank you for joining me in celebrating South Africa's Women's Day. It is indeed important that the non-discrimination of South Africa's women is celebrated, and more so, that the contribution of South Africa's women to that emancipation is recognized. In this spirit, I've spent some time researching women under indenture in South Africa and the socio-political and economic strides they had achieved. Women in indenture were abused and cast as subordinate within the colonial and patriarchal systems under which they labored. However, little is known about their response and agency to these acts of oppression in the workplace and in their homes. Away from their country of birth and its associated traditional practices, women use their labor and colonial laws as a tool to assert themselves and negotiate a safer personal and economic space. They use this to protect themselves against abusive husbands and employers. In responding to these challenges, the traditional role of women was being reconfigured in the colony as they contested the customary practices and strictures placed upon them by marriage and religious institutions. So at the outset, I'd like to acknowledge researchers Ghulam Vahed, Kalpana Hiralal, Josephine Beale, Nafisa Isup Sheikh, N. Pillay, and the UKZN Special Collections Gandhi Lutuli Documentation Center. This presentation draws on their work as it explores the bravery of women and the strategies they used to resist oppression. During the period 1860 to 1911, 152,184 immigrants arrived in South Africa. 2/3 of the immigrants were male, 90% of the immigrants were Hindus, and they spoke various languages, had different traditions and values, and derived from varying castes. Their place of work was determined by a ticket picked out of a hat. Between 60 to 70% of the immigrants worked on sugarcane plantations. According to Vahed, Indians could not refuse any work, demand higher wages, or leave the employer. They could not go more than 2 miles from their estate without their employer's written permission, even to lay a charge against that very employer. However, amongst this disparate community, the migrants developed what Whitehead calls a new Indianness against the backdrop of the social and political struggles they experienced. Beale reported that Indian women were rarely employed in their own capacity, even though they were made to sign indenture contracts. Many arrived with their husbands from India and were given to employers along with the male laborer. Most often, single women were accepted by employers along with a group of males whose labor had been contracted by virtue of being attached to a man in that group. Women worked on the sugar and tea estates as field hands, in coal mines, and as domestic servants on small farms. They were severely exploited. Women earned half of the amount paid to men. Food rations were given only to working women. All women over the age of 13 were required to pay a £3 tax. Failure to comply resulted in jail time. There were no provisions made for the elderly, the widowed, or the orphaned, and if they could not earn an income, they had to return to India. Girls endured familial resistance to attending school because of disruption to their domestic role. It is against the social and economic backdrop that the bravery of women will be described. Women use multiple forms and strategies of resistance to challenge and defy the oppression they experience from patriarchal and colonial powers. So traditionally, resistance has been defined in the context of armed struggle, mass protest, and rebellion. But newer analytical insights indicate that resistance exists in the minutest of power relations. So according to Foucault, where there is power, there is resistance. And it is then that within this view, Hiralal has analyzed the violent and non-violent acts of defiance that women engaged in. These included desertion, absenteeism, suicide, feigning illness, displaying insolence and disobedience, damage to property, hurling verbal abuse, physical assaults, arson, poisoning, and even murder. Resistance to indenture began on the ships, where single women in particular were sexually abused. On arrival at the destination, reports of rape and sexual abuse were filed. On the ships, some women, however, resorted to suicide by jumping overboard as a means of escape. In the agricultural fields, almost 70% of the convictions were against women for flouting labor laws. Insolence and desertion were common findings. Desertion was prompted by women's dislike of working on the plantation or because of ill treatment by their employers. Women knew how to frustrate and fracture the power of their employers, and in asserting their agency, their employers became victims of their defiance. Thus, some employers were forced to transfer women whom they described as being of considerable trouble. A significant segment of the indentured population worked as domestic servants. Many women were assigned as house servants or worked as ayahs. Female domestic servants did not hesitate to challenge their employers by laying claims to their labor rights or rebelling against a system that procured their services under false pretenses. Like the agricultural workers, female domestic servants resorted to similar methods of defiance: desertion, absenteeism, insolence, verbal abuse, and disobedience. Women in particular feigned illness to frustrate their employers, to escape the hardships of indenture, so that they could be reassigned to lighter chores and fewer working hours. Women asserted their independence by filing depositions with the protector relating to sexual harassment, physical assaults, lack of proper rations, and no extra pay for Sunday work. Rape, assault, and murder by their husbands characterized the lives of many indentured women. In migrating, men assumed that women would conform to traditional patriarchal norms as practiced in India. But when women failed to prescribe to these norms, men at times became violent that resulted in some women losing their lives. In addition, the fewer women in the colony made them vulnerable to sexual harassment and high levels of gender violence. Some women refused to stay in an abusive relationship. They often left their partners and cohabited with another, or they took the legal route. Women were also found to be involved in criminal acts of violence, such as arson, for example, setting fire to the cane fields, poisoning, and murder. These were negligible, however, compared to those committed by men. Several women were charged with physical assault on their masters and colonial officials. In 1913, the political will of women was aroused. They acted first against the court judgment that threatened the validity of all marriages other than those conducted under Christian rites. Second, the compulsory £3 tax. And third, the law that limited freedom by preventing Indians from moving across provinces. Under the direction of Gandhiji and the Satyagraha movement, a group of 11 indentured women from Tolstoy Farm in the Transvaal embarked on a non-violent protest. With babies in arms, they transgressed the law by moving across the provincial boundaries into Natal, provoking arrest. In the wake of their defiance, they mobilized scores of disenfranchised workers and were instrumental in initiating the strike of almost 2,000 coal miners, railway and domestic workers. After 6 weeks of intense mobilization, they were arrested and taken to the Pietermaritzburg prison. Their actions motivated similar individual and mass acts of bravery across the country. Among the women resistors, Valyama Mudliar stands out as a martyr. The daughter of veteran passive resistors, she participated in the women's marches and died at the age of 17 in February 1914 after a prolonged illness in prison. The success of the 1913 passive resistance campaign saw the £3 tax cancelled. Indian marriages were legalized, and one wife and the minor children of an Indian marriage, even if it was polygamous, were given the right to join their husbands residing in South Africa. So, women under indenture were hardly passive or subordinate. Under indenture, women became wage earners, assertive, and assumed independence. This newfound independence was most noticeable in the manner in which women challenged oppressive socio-political, labor, and patriarchal conditions. Hiralal states that the indentured system, despite its oppressive nature, empowered women to some extent with economic and social freedom and an opportunity to transgress traditional gender roles. Our plucky sisters under indenture, as Hiralal refers to them, spurred future generations of South African women to strengthen their resolve in their challenge to oppression. We thank you, our sisters. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Sarila Ramklas, for sharing the struggles of the indentured women. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Rebecca Vezi Dadla, who is only 22 years of age and a radio personality from Howick.
Hi, I am Tembeka Vezi Dladla and I am in radio production. What I have come to believe is that each and every one of us has a personal calling and it's as unique as a fingerprint. I believe that in order to succeed, you need to find what you love, then offer that to others in a form of service. And thereafter, just allow the energy of the universe to lead you. I believe that accepting ourselves as women as we are is the main thing that forms a positive attitude towards ourselves and others. I think we need to reshape our own perception of how we view ourselves and take the lead, basically. So, I would like to say Happy Women's Day to all the women in South Africa. And
Thank you, Ms. Tembeka Vezi Dadra. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Tabile Buthelezi, an entrepreneur from Durban.
Sanbonani Dumelang Absheni. Hello, happy International Women's Day to all women across the world. Ngitigunina, Giantanda, I love you and you are beautiful just the way you are. My name is Tabile Buthelezi. I'm from Durban, South Africa in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So I'm very excited to be invited as part of this beautiful WebEx by the International Consulate of India in South Africa, specifically in Durban. As I said, my name is Tabile Buthelezi. I'm born and bred in the dusty KwaMashu. It's a township north of Durban. I'm a philanthropist, I'm a businesswoman, I'm an academic who's doing her PhD in public administration at the Durban University of Technology. I focus on peace studies and specifically in the preservation of arts, culture and heritage. I'm the founder of the Tabile Buthelezi Foundation, which focuses on youth development, community building, and community engagement. It's an honor to be one of the women to share their stories on empowerment. Firstly, I would like to reiterate that empowered women empower other women. And the reason why I say that, I refer as myself as someone who's empowered. I empower myself through education. Education has helped me to shape my life, to shape the way that I think, to shape the way that I do things. And I transmit my educational experience, my educational knowledge to other women. Because I, as I've said, I consider myself as an empowered woman. And if you are empowered, it's very important not to be selfish with information, with experience, with mentorship, because if I, as Tabile from KwaMashu, a township, if I can at least empower or mentor, even if it's one girl child in my community, that will have a ripple effect for other women in other areas to be empowered as well. And when I say an empowered woman empowers other women, it's something so simple. You don't have to actually go all out and be in people's faces. You can even use something so simple as social media. We live in a digital society, especially during this time of the pandemic, COVID-19. Everyone is on their phones, everyone is on their social media. So you as a woman can use that platform of social media to empower other women. How do you empower other women? By sharing opportunities, by sharing beautiful platforms that they can also be part of and empower themselves. You can also just share words of encouragement, just motivate women, empower them by just simply showing them how did you empower yourself. As I've said, I empowered myself through education. Growing up in a township of KwaMashu, I wasn't exposed so much about the different fields of education as I was part of being in the field of the creative economy. Since I was a performer, I was a dancer, I really enjoyed being on stage. But I didn't see someone that used that experience in an educational framework. So I did my own research and discovered that I could actually be in the field of the creative industry, but behind the scenes through education. So I registered at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I did my BA in Music and Drama Performance Studies. I did my honors in applied ethnomusicology. I did my master's overseas with the consortium of 4 different universities, namely a university in Norway, a university in France, a university in Hungary, and lastly a university in the UK in London. I then graduated and I received an international master's in heritage management, and currently I'm doing my doctorates in peace studies and public administration. But all in all, I'm using my educational experience, my educational knowledge to transfer skills to empower other women. How I go about doing that: number one, I mentor 40 girls between the ages of 16 to 25. I mentor them on how to maximize their potential. By saying maximize their potential, it basically means you are more than just being a woman. You are more than just one thing. Don't put yourself in one box, but maximize. You know your capabilities, you know your skills, you know your passion. So maximize and do everything, because you as a woman, you are powerful and you can do everything that you want to do. I consider myself as an academic. That's another form of tabile. I consider myself as a businesswoman. I'm a CEO as well of the World Queen Events, which is a deco and management company. We focus on eventing, we focus on event styling, we focus on just an overall deco environment styling. That's another point of tabile. I also consider myself as a philanthropist through the many advocacy work that I do through the Tabile Butezi Foundation. I consider myself as a sister, a mother, a friend, a queen, an overall empowered woman. But I'm not selfish with my empowerment. I make sure that I transmit whatever that I know, whatever that I am to other people, so that they can be empowered themselves. And it's very important as women to make sure that we end WAWA. What is WAWA? W-A-W-A. It's women against women abuse. It's happening. We are seeing it on social media as well, through cyberbullying. Let's stop it. Let's end it. Let's call out those women who are doing us injustice on these platforms. And let us make sure that we are each other's keepers. We are each other's sisters. We are each other's friends, advocates. You know, it's very important as a woman to make sure that even if it's someone that is a stranger, a sister from India, a sister from Peru, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, California, I can name so many places. But as a woman, we should be united. We should stand for each other. We should stand together and make sure that we empower ourselves. And after we've empowered ourselves, we empower others. And another thing that I want to talk about, it's beautiful and it's great to be, I'm the first South African, I'm the first woman, I'm the first whatever, I'm the first and the only. And you can be the first, but after you've been the first, who else is coming after you? You should make sure that you pass on the baton, pass on the information, pass on the opportunities, because yes, alone you are great, but together we are greater. As I've mentioned, I was afforded the opportunity to study overseas as the first South African to be afforded the prestigious scholarship from Corrie Mundus, which is Erasmus Mundus funded scholarship to study overseas in 4 different universities. As I've said before, it's a consortium. And after that, yes, I was the first South African. It was a beautiful, but I wasn't selfish in to say I want to only empower myself, but I made sure that I shared the information. And to date, there's more than 5 other South Africans, and most of them are females, that have been afforded the same scholarship. And I know if we come together and we plan, even if it's a festival, it's an event, it's a conference, it will be more powerful, because together we can become greater. And I know that one person, one woman's brain is not enough, but if there's other 5 women together with Tabile and Nokolo Buthelezi, we can achieve so many things. And I empower myself through education. Other women empower themselves through business, through advocacy, through community building. And for yourself to be more empowered, you need to make sure that you transmit. I don't know how many times I want to talk about this, or how many times I should reiterate this. It's very important for us as women not to be selfish, but to make sure that if I, from Guamashi Township, empower someone else from Tuzuma, the whole of Tuzuma will be empowered. If I empower someone from another township, Umlazi, that person would empower the whole of Umlazi. If I, from Guamashi, empower someone from Inanda, Clermont, Ikwatabeka, I can name so many different beautiful townships in Soweto. The whole of South Africa will be empowered. And Kanjalo to have that kind of ripple effect. So myself, on the 9th of August 2020, under these harsh circumstances, I'd like to say to each and every woman, you are more than just a woman. Dig deeper, do a self-introspection, and look and find and feel and learn and hear and discover who you really are. Because I know that you are listening to me. And you know, that's one thing that you've always wanted to do, but you are limiting yourself, whether it's the geography of your existence, whether it's your poverty, whether it's the situation, or you can even blame COVID-19. I wanted to do this, but because of this circumstance, I couldn't do it. I'd like to tell you, do it now. Start where you are. Start now. Qala. In this is when we say qala, which means start. Start where you are. You can start small and gradually grow, because that's what I did with my education, something that empowers me. I started small with a degree, honors, master's, and now I'm doing my PhD. You start where you are and then you gradually rise up. And when you've done that, just know that you can pass on whatever that you have. And it doesn't even have to be education. It could be something so simple as information, business. It could be maybe a skill, like teach another woman how to cook. Teach another woman teach another woman how to be confident. Teach another woman how to be great at whatever skill that they have. But make sure that once you are empowered as a woman, you empower others as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm really grateful. I hope my brief overview of how I'm empowered and how I choose to empower others will also inspire you to empower others as well. But from me, Tabina Noxolo Buthelezi, I'd like to wish you a happy, a lovely, a beautiful, a prosperous Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buthelezi, for those very inspiring words. Our next guest is Hoto, a psychology honors graduate and a very budding entrepreneur.
Dumelani Abshegi, hello. My name is Piki Matidi Samhoto. I'm a 26-year-old female born and raised in the beautiful, beautiful township called Kwamashu, and in the beautiful, breathtaking, extraordinary city called Durban. Today's video is about what I studied, why I studied what I studied, and it's also to celebrate our incredible and amazing females, our women of our society, Imbokodo of our nation, because our world wouldn't be what it is without the women, the incredible women that always grace us with their presence, the women that are always going through something, but you could never tell because they're always trying to make sure that everyone else is okay, especially people that are around them, even people that aren't around them. They're always trying to make sure that everyone is okay, everyone is taken care of. We need to celebrate those females. We need to celebrate us. We definitely need to celebrate us, not just in the month of August, but the whole year. We definitely need to celebrate ourselves the whole entire year because we're amazing. We're incredible. We're powerful. Without us, I don't even think our nation would be this amazing. Without us, I don't even think we'd be able to have such an incredible and breathtaking society. So in 2013, I embarked on a journey and I studied psychology. And after studying psychology, I graduated and got my degree in psychology. And then after that, I decided to work. And after that, I decided to resign at work and then decided to embark on another journey and study my honors in psychology. And all of that took, well, my degree took 4 years, and then my honors degree took a year. I just graduated, but unfortunately we couldn't have a ceremony because of COVID. But yeah, we did have like our mini celebration and our mini ceremony at home, which was amazing. I studied psychology because I really desperately wanted to understand human behavior. I wanted to understand why people do the things that they do. And I wanted to understand how people process information. I wanted to understand why people do the bad things that they do and why people do the good things that they do. Because we don't have all bad in us. We do have good in us. Even the people that do the most horrible of things, they still do have some good in them. So I wanted to understand and have better information when it comes to humans, because once you understand yourself, you are able to understand other human beings as well. So another reason why I actually studied psychology is because I had been through my own experience with abuse. So I definitely wanted to understand my perpetrator. I wanted to understand why he actually did what he did. I wanted to understand what his thought process was. And I got to understand that when you separate the behavior of a person and the actual person, you get to understand why they actually did what they did. And then you get to understand that their past behavior or their past experiences had a huge role in the things that they have done in today's society. So psychology really helped me with that and understanding that. And now I have a better understanding in terms of our society and in terms of humans as a whole. I needed to desperately get out of the hole that I was in with depression and anxiety, and therefore I definitely wanted to study psychology because that really helped me to get out of that hole, because it was just the darkest place and it wasn't the best of place that I needed to be. And I was there because of the abuse that I had actually experienced. But because of the skills that I had acquired with psychology, I was able to understand me. And in understanding me, I was able to find the strength and the courage to actually become a better me. So that's what actually motivated me to choose psychology, because I wanted to understand the society as well. Like many people go through depression and anxiety and don't actually know how to deal with it because they've never experienced it before, or they've never known that it actually exists. So my profession actually helps people deal with anxiety and actually helps them target what actually triggers the anxiety, what actually is the root of the depression, and how can they acquire the skills to actually deal with the depression that they're going through. Because in most cases, we already have the skills that we need embedded in us to deal with every obstacle that comes our way. We just need someone to guide us. And that's what my profession does. It helps people and it guides people to a better pathway of dealing with problems in a more healthier way and in a more productive way. So that's why I chose my field in psychology, because I wanted to make a difference in society and I wanted to help people better understand themselves. And therefore, once you better understand yourself, you are able to deal with your problems and you are able to conquer and overcome negative thoughts and you are able to invite positive thoughts and live a healthier and better life, because there's nothing like living an amazing and incredible positive life, because amazing things start happening to you. I hope my video inspired someone out there, and happy Women's Month. And I still think women need to be celebrated the whole year. I definitely still think we need to be celebrated the whole year. But we'll take August. We'll take August. We'll definitely take it. And I don't think that it just needs to be on the 9th. Let's just say the whole of August. The whole of August needs to be about us, because we are amazing. Happy Women's Month.
Thank you, Miss Pinky Mohoto, for those lovely words. Sorry. Our next guest speaker is Ma Samkele Buka. Miss Ma Samkele Buka is a media personality, specializes in fashion, radio presenter, and also an actress. She is a native of Durban, who has a grounding both academically and experiential know-how in the media industry. She is a graduate of radio broadcasting and public relations.
Hello, my name is Masamgele Pota, and my experience as a young South African with creativity is one that has been really phenomenal. But obviously I've had my ups and downs here and there, but with those ups and downs I've learned and have grown so much. For me, being a creative is not something that you just wake up the next day and be like, oh hey, I'm a creative. I feel like it requires passion and want to be willing to put in the effort. I'm a creative who does acting, who's into TV and radio presenting, as well as fashion. But today I'll be speaking about fashion, because I feel like with fashion, it really makes me feel so good. And you know, when dressing up, I absolutely feel so confident. With fashion, it also requires you to do a lot of color coding, you know, mixing colors together, matching things most of the times, you know. And for me, doing that really wants me to always be on my toes, my mind or my head to be really thinking really fast and all of that. So when I actually do dress up, I absolutely feel so confident. I feel amazing, and I just want to stand on top of the world and be like, hey, to all the youngsters, we can do this, you know, we are in charge. Let's come together, let's unite, and we can make anything and everything that we want possible as youngsters. So for me, that's my experience with creativity, and I feel like it's something that's really close to my heart. It's something that's spiritual, and you know, I really feel good about it, and I've learned so much. So yeah, that's my experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ma Samkele Buka, for that, sharing your inspiring story. Our next guest speaker is Miss Lorato Matadito, an educator who is currently based in China.
Hello and happy Women's Month to all the beautiful and bold women of South Africa. Yes, queens, Wamandla. My name is Lerato Matibe, and I'm an educational practitioner currently operating within the sphere of early childhood and development in language learning and acquisition in China. My job basically entails curriculum design, planning, and implementation. I'm in charge of the holistic process of teaching and learning, and being exposed to an aggressive culture when it comes to learning, such as that of China, has really opened me up to the many opportunities that lay within the sphere of education, some of which are outside of the traditional classroom, that is publishing, gamification, as well as arts in education. So it really has been a journey of discovery, and it has been a privileged position that I find myself in, and being female in this space is an opportunity that I don't take for granted. As you know, education is mostly seen as a very feminine space. However, when males enter that space, they are given more opportunities when it comes to management and leadership. Gender theory describes this phenomenon as the glass escalator. This is what men are privileged to have. So as you can imagine, an escalator propels you forward, whereas women are recipients of the glass ceiling. Now, a ceiling it blocks you from actually continuing further, right? So being in such a context, I have been given the opportunity to really understand the multifaceted nature of education, and all of the daily lessons that I face are definitely an opportunity for me to come back to my country and empower the female educators that lay behind me, right? So we can then work together towards building more entrepreneurial educational consultancies that will better the lives of females in general. So that has been my journey in education, and also just walking into educational spaces and understanding my social identity, right? I understand that I'm female. I understand that I am Black. I understand that I am of a certain age. So being aware of all of those isms when I enter a space, it allows me to not be oblivious, and be taken off guard when certain forms of oppression present themselves to me. However, I am able to then rebuttal, like like the Bogoto that I am, and just and really use my feminism in a way that commands respect and longevity within the field that I'm in. So that's my journey, and I hope to inspire those that are listening. Let us move towards an educational fraternity that is involved in community building, that is involved in social justice, and that does so unapologetically and is not confined to the walls of the classroom.
Thank you, Ms. Lorata Matabile, for those wonderful and inspiring words. Now, as we have come to the end of today's program, I would like to invite my colleague, Ms. Shristi Harinarayan, to render the vote of thanks. Thank you, and have a wonderful Women's Day.
Namaskar. On behalf of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, it gives me great pleasure in rendering this afternoon's vote of thanks on the occasion of South Africa's Women's Day. We would like to extend deep gratitude to Ms. Paula Martini, Ms. Sureka Singh, Ms. Shivani Chinnapan, Ms. Caroline Smart, Dr. Sorella Ramklas, Ms. Tabile Butalezi, Ms. Nkami Mispa Glamini, Ms. Nozibele Songeni, Ms. Tembeka Vezi Dladla, Ms. Loreto Matibile, Ms. Masamkele Buka, Ms. Pinky Mohoto. We'd also like to extend deep gratitude to the Director of SVCC Durban, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Ms. Cheryl Banwarilal, Mr. Piyush Khandelwal. Thank you, PhD, for all your support and technical assistance making our online programs a success. Most importantly, we would like to extend a deep gratitude to you, our online viewers. Thank you for your support and continuously watching us. Please stay tuned to SVCC social media pages for what's happening next. From me, Namaskar.